Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I am your host, God of Heroics, and today we don't really have a fully fleshed out topic, but it's just something that's been on my mind for a while, and I figured I would just yap about it. You see, normally for these kinds of videos, I don't script anything, and fair, this video is not scripted in much the same way, but I always have at least an outline of what I'm going to be talking about with a lot of ideas as to where I'm going with that. But today is going to be a little bit different. I do have some idea of where I'm going with this, but I don't necessarily know if I'm going to come to any kind of solution. So just bear with me. If I don't come up with anything, it's fine. These kind of videos are just background noise anyway. So if you like these type of videos, please like the video, subscribe to the page, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified to all future uploads. I'm trying to hit 350, so if you could help me out with that, I would greatly appreciate it. And without further ado, let's get started. So, what are these characters wearing? Not these characters like the characters on screen being Cell, who isn't wearing anything, and Android 17, who's just wearing a shirt and some jeans and some really good boots. But I mean, I'm talking in general. Now, while 17 can fall into that category of what are they wearing, that's not necessarily, I'm not talking about him specifically, but just super powered characters in general that have these like high tier scalings and get into these really crazy battles. They get damaged a lot and they go back and forth and do a lot of battle and combat, and a lot of them shoot supernatural like beams of energy or use crazy techniques, but their clothes never really get destroyed. Or they do, but not to any crazy degree that would make sense with the kind of damage that they're taking. For Dragon Ball specifically, you can say that, they all characters in Dragon Ball, at least the ones that utilize ki, always have some kind of ki defense around them. So it's very likely they are exuding like their aura in a kind of way where there's like a defensive aura around them, much like Jiren. When we see him in the Tournament of Power, Goku starts attacking him, and when he throws his Kamehameha in base form, it literally disperses on Jiren's aura. And then when he turns it up to Super Saiyan and Super Saiyan 3, he's able to hit Jiren, but he's not really doing any damage. And it's just because Jiren's that strong. His ki that is exuded from his body is just that powerful. So maybe you could say that characters just have this natural heightened crazy ki around their body that in a sense does keep their clothes in one piece. But then you have to remember those clothes do get damaged, which is fine because as they take damage, it's harder to focus on keeping that kind of ki defense up, and it's likely that some of that damage can make it through their barrier and destroy their clothes, which explains how their armors get broken or their clothes get a little tattered and torn here and there. But when you start thinking about it, there are some really powerful moves that these characters get hit by, mostly like characters like Goku, where he ends up completely shirtless and his pants would be in shambles. Now, I'm not trying to see Goku's meat, but my question is, why do Goku's pants last longer than his shirts? Maybe like most of the damage is going towards his upper body because the way he stances up when he is in defense, or maybe I don't know. It's just an artistic design choice by the author, which is fine as well. I mean, when you think about it, Goku's clothes are magic, and Vegeta's armor is made by some of the most high-tech technological discoveries in the universe. But when we start looking at other stories, it starts to get a little weird. So things like God of War, I'm not counting because God of War lives in, Kratos, not God of War, he is the God of War, but the God of War universe is a fantasy world with tons of different versions of magic and enchantments. And I'm pretty sure that when you look at the stats of all the outfits and clothes that you can put on in God of War and Ragnarok, and even if you look at the stuff that exists in the pantheon, the Greek pantheon, even in the first few games, I'm pretty sure their outfits are enchanted with high defensive stats and resistances and all that. And the same can be said when we look at Sung Jin Woo from one of my current new gen anime, Solo Leveling. Now, he wears regular clothes, and it follows this basic line of logic. His regular clothes can get tattered and torn. However, he also has equipped tons of different equipment onto his body that allows, him to have higher defenses. In fact, we see this when he goes to fight Egress. He equips a bunch of different armors, and those armors are on him, but they're invisible. Like, you cannot see them. He doesn't feel the weight of them. It's like the effects exist and the armor's there, but the physical effects, any restrictions that it would have on his movements, or even just feeling the weight in general, are negated for whatever reason. And it allows him to move around freely. So while he can get hit and take damage, it's not going to damage and destroy his outfit, because his outfit is being protected by these magic artifacts. However, the only time outside of this where we do see his outfit get torn and tattered is when he goes to fight Baron in one of the more recent episodes of Solo Leveling. But the cape that he wears that gets torn and tattered is actually not an artifact given to him by the system, his powers. It's actually something that he purchased that just has really high heat resistance, as the area that he was in was basically on fire the way you would expect of hell. So during his fight with Baron and all of his soldiers, it actually does get destroyed and torn up and tattered, but that makes sense. Now, what really brought this kind of question up for me is watching Invincible. I love this show. Season 3, I love it. There's a lot of hate going on saying, oh, sometimes these animations just look like PNG sliding. Okay, but shut the fuck up and enjoy the story. But when you think about it, these characters don't have magic defenses. They don't have enchanted clothes. They don't have super high tech armor created by Capsule Corp or anything like that. The superheroes of this franchise just exist on Earth, in Earth much like our own, but with superheroes. So when you think of making superhero outfits, you kind of got to wonder what they're made out of, especially characters like Mark and his father Nolan, who we've seen their tailor. We've seen the guy who makes their outfits, and it's not like he's some crazy alien who has technology or access to technologies that we don't know about. He's a guy employed by the GVA who just makes outfits. He's a tailor. So it's never really stated what goes into those outfits or what they're made out of, but they seem to hold up pretty well in pretty much every situation. There are times when Mark's outfits do get torn and ripped up, but it's after severe abuse. And while it is fair that your clothes aren't going to get torn and ripped up from getting punched and kicked nearly as much as they would if you were getting slashed and stabbed, I still don't understand how Mark gets sent through mountains or dragged through the ground or through walls and all that, and his outfits don't get ripped the way they should be. At least for the Viltrumites, the outfits that they wear, while they are very similar to what you would expect from, the superheroes, how they wear their thin spandex. I don't think their outfits are spandex, but the Viltrumites are an alien race that are built upon combat and war. So the outfits that they have are very likely, reminiscent of that. Now, I'm not sure if their outfits are created with high defense to resist the kind of battles and stuff that they're expected to go through, but it's also possible that they maybe don't offer that much defense for the sake of being able to move at great speeds free of any restrictions that your clothes may have if they're too tight or too bulky. And also because they are a warrior race, an extremely war-ridden warrior race, that they probably think that you're just a little bitch if you have tons of defense on you. And to be honest, that might be the most fair conclusion for their entire outfits. But what I was really thinking was, when Omni-Man left the planet in season 1, he was flying out of the atmosphere and he started to burn up, because that's what happens when you fly at those speeds, especially breaking through the atmosphere. But the blood on his entire outfit got burned away, but no damage at all happened to his Omni-Man costume. And I thought that was strange because, I'm not some huge scientist, so I don't know the exact temperature that is required to vaporize blood on your fabrics. But I'm pretty sure the fabric should have at least caught fire, at least a little bit. And even if they are somehow created in a way where they don't, there should be some kind of singe or something like somewhere on the suit to prove like, yeah, it's fire resistant, but it's not, 100% heat proof. That wouldn't make sense. And but the GDA is a very, very big and expensive corporation of sorts or organization of sorts, and they spend billions of dollars just to get Cecil or anyone else to teleport from one location to another. So let's just say they have the funds and potentially the resources on their planet to do so, especially considering that they know of the most dangerous and powerful monsters that they've likely killed and captured. And they probably utilize some of those monsters' skins or whatnot in a lot of the outfits that they create just for the sake of the durability, but also being lightweight and allowing people to move without, huge restrictions to their body like you keep speaking of. That may be all fine and good, but it seems like when the Viltrumites show up that they can pretty much punch and slash and cut through any of these anyway, especially considering that Anissa uppercutted Mark so hard that the goggles on his glasses straight up shattered on impact. And she didn't even touch the goggles, which I think is pretty crazy. But then what about stuff like Naruto? Because they have chakra, and to my knowledge, I don't think every character has some kind of chakra defensive barrier around them, and their clothes do get fairly tattered, but you never see them get like as destroyed as you would, Dragon Ball characters. They might have cuts and tears here and there, or like, missing piece of their sleeve or something, but as far as I remember, nobody's like straight up getting their whole fit destroyed and burned by getting, trying to block a fireball jutsu or something like that. I think that's kind of strange, right? Maybe I'm just misremembering the show or something, but I don't know. I feel like that is a little bit weird. And then I think that the more realistic versions would be a lot of just the combat based anime, stuff that's grounded in more reality based combat, like Windbreakers and Tokyo Revenger, where they get into scuffles, they get into like fights, human on human fights, and nobody's supernaturally powerful. I mean, there are some pretty strong characters in these shows, but they're not powerful to the point where they're breaking mountains in half with a single kick or anything. And that's kind of where this argument is coming from. Like I was saying, it's easier to destroy fabric by cutting it and stabbing it than it is to destroy it by punching and kicking. But with the strength that these characters can strike with, you would think that there would be more damage to the clothes, right? Or maybe I just don't know how fabric works, because I'm pretty sure that if somebody's wearing a shirt and you punch them at like Mach 42, while the person, if they're super powered enough, could survive that kind of punch, there's no way the shirt is surviving that punch, right? Like when you, like their body's not defending enough to the point where the shirt doesn't take damage, because the shirt is the first line of defense between their body and, the fist. So I think that's pretty interesting, especially with the forces that's put through. I don't really have like a solution to how this happens in a lot of series. I just figured I'd yap about it a little bit because clothes in a lot of anime, especially battle shonen, don't really make sense to me. It's mostly the pants that really confuse me, because if you're getting hit with like a Gallic gun and you block it, but your entire shirt is like destroyed, why are there like 2 or 3 cuts on your pants? Again, I'm not trying to see Goku's meat, but just to make sense of it, I just don't understand why the pants are like so freaking resilient. But then you have a series like My Hero Academia, one of my favorite franchises. Now, you can say what you will about stuff like Invincible, being like, oh, the GDA is probably rich enough and to create all sorts of strong outfits, especially utilizing monsters and stuff from the earth to create new armors and fits and whatnot. But then I ask, like, what's going on in My Hero Academia? Because while they do have agencies that make outfits and stuff of that nature, I don't think that they could make clothes that can, defend against some characters. Like, for example, All Might uses the United States of Smash to defeat All for One. But yeah, he hit him in the face, but with that huge crater that he created, you would think that All for One's entire outfit would be destroyed. And there is no way you can have me believe that Stitch Fix is creating All for One a suit that can withstand a multi-city level punch like United States of Smash. It's just not happening. In the My Hero movies, when Deku gets into fights, he uses the most OP nonsensical versions of these attacks. In the most recent movie, he hit a guy with a smash attack for every state. And that guy has a damn near perfect outfit still on. Like, his outfit is not tattered. He's not running around in his underwear. But then you have characters in Durarara like Shizuo, I believe that's his name, where he punched a dude so hard, all his clothes came off. There's no way you can tell me that he can punch a dude out of his whole outfit, but when Goku uppercuts the shit out of anybody, that they still got clothes on. Maybe I'm just yapping, and I'm just a little mad that clothes aren't working the way that I feel like they should. And again, I'm not trying to see characters naked. I just want it to make sense. But that's pretty much going to do it for me. I'm sorry, guys. I just went on this crazy yap session about outfits and clothing and whatnot. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Hopefully a more serious and grounded video. Peace.